Today, we're diving into James Clear's game-changing book, Atomic Habits. We're going to uncover a powerful and honestly, a kind of counterintuitive secret, how tiny, almost invisible changes can stack up to create absolutely life-altering results. I mean, it's the big question, right? How do people achieve these incredible things? Is it just luck or raw talent? Maybe one big heroic moment? Well, it turns out the answer is way simpler and a whole lot more powerful. And it all starts with a professional sports team that was for about a century a complete and total joke. So, this team's amazing turnaround and the very principle that can transform your own results is built on this simple but profound idea: the 1% advantage. Some people call it the aggregation of marginal gains. Okay, so for nearly 100 years, professional cycling in Great Britain was, well, to put it nicely, it was a disaster. I mean, they were so consistently bad that they basically became a running gag in the sport. Just think about that for a second. In 110 years, not a single Tour de France victory. In fact, they were so bad that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe actually refused to sell them bikes. They were afraid it would hurt their brand if other pro cyclists saw the Brits using their gear. Ouch. But then, everything changed. They brought in a new performance director, a guy named Dave Brailsford. And he had this completely different philosophy, a strategy he called the aggregation of marginal gains. The whole idea was deceptively simple. Brailsford believed that if you could just break down everything that goes into riding a bike and then improve every single one of those little things by just 1%, the combined effect would be a massive leap in performance. And when they started looking for those 1% gains, they looked absolutely everywhere. And this is where it gets kind of wild. I mean, sure, they did the obvious stuff. They redesigned the bike seats for more comfort, they tested fabrics and wind tunnels, but then they went further, way further. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders the right way to wash their hands to avoid getting colds. They tested different massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They even figured out the perfect pillow for each rider to guarantee the best possible night's sleep. We're talking hundreds of tiny 1% improvements. So what happened? The result was just insane. Over the next 10 years, between 2007 and 2017, British cyclists won 178 world championships. They won 5 Tour de France titles. It became the single most successful run in the history of the sport. It's just a perfect illustration of the power of these tiny compounding gains. And the math behind this is just staggering. Getting 1% better every day doesn't just add up, it compounds. Over the course of a single year, that daily 1% effort makes you nearly 38 times better. Of course, the flip side is also true. Getting 1% worse each day brings you almost down to 0. This principle is unbelievably powerful. Which brings up a pretty important question. If it's so powerful, why is it so hard for us to stick with it? Well, this brings us to a really crucial and, let's be honest, often frustrating part of the journey, the valley of disappointment. You know how it is. We think progress should be this nice straight line. We go to the gym for a week, and when we don't see a huge change in the mirror, we get discouraged. But the reality is that the most powerful results are always delayed. There's this period of time where all our efforts are just building up potential, even when we can't see the results yet. And that gap, right there, between what we expect to happen and what actually happens, that's the valley of disappointment. And it's where most people give up. There's a perfect analogy for this from the social reformer Jacob Riis. He talked about a stonecutter who just hammers away at a rock, maybe 100 times, and nothing happens. No crack, nothing. But then, on the 101st blow, the rock splits in two. And the stonecutter knows it wasn't that last hit that did it. It was all the hits that came before. Your work isn't being wasted. It's just being stored. So, how do we push through that valley? How do we keep going? Well, this is where the book offers a really radical idea. Forget about your goals. Instead, focus completely on your systems. So let's be clear on the difference. A goal is the result you want, right? Like winning a championship. A system is the process that gets you there, like your daily workout routine. Now, here's the key insight. Winners and losers, they often have the exact same goals. Every single athlete at the Olympics wants to win a gold medal. The goal itself isn't what separates them. What makes the difference is their commitment to a system of continuous small improvements. And focusing on a system, well, it also lets you feel good about the daily process, instead of just tying all your happiness to some future outcome that you may or may not reach. This might be the most important line in the entire book. It's a total reframing of how we think about success.
You can have the biggest, most ambitious goals in the world, but at the end of the day, your results will always fall back to the level of your daily routines. But you know what? We can go even deeper. The most powerful, the most lasting way to create change isn't about focusing on what you want to achieve. It's about focusing on who you wish to become. Think of change as having 3 layers, kind of like an onion. On the very outside, you have your outcomes, the results you get. In the middle, you've got your processes, your habits, and your systems. But right at the core, the deepest layer, is your identity, what you truly believe about yourself. Now, most of us, we try to change from the outside in. We focus on the outcome we want. But real, lasting change works from the inside out. It has to start with your identity. And this example just illustrates the difference perfectly. Imagine 2 people who are trying to quit smoking are offered a cigarette. The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." See, this person still sees themselves as a smoker who is trying to do something different. But the second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a tiny change in words, but it signals a massive shift in identity. And this is why it's so incredibly powerful. If your deep down identity is "I'm not a morning person," you will always struggle to build an early workout habit, no matter how great your system is. Your old identity is going to sabotage your new plans every single time. So the goal isn't just to read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. Okay, so if identity is the real secret sauce, how do we actually build a new one? How do our habits actually shape who we are? Well, it's a beautifully simple 2-step process. First, you just decide what type of person you want to be, not what you want to achieve. Who do you want to be? A healthy person? A creative person? A kind person? Then, the second step is you prove it to yourself with small, tiny wins. This is probably my favorite concept in the whole book. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every time you skip the junk food and cook a healthy meal, you cast a vote for "I am a healthy person." Every time you sit down and write one paragraph, you cast a vote for "I am a writer." One single vote won't win the election, but enough of them, day after day, they absolutely will. So in the end, your habits are really just showing you who you believe you are. But the good news is, your identity isn't carved in stone. It's something you can build, one moment, one choice at a time. So the real question isn't just about what you're going to do. It's about who you want to become. And with the very next small action you take, what vote will you cast?